Hi Facebook, it's Pam again. I wrote a blog today about forgiveness that I just posted and shared, and I'm trying to continue doing these videos at the same time as I do the blogs, because I know there's a lot of blogs out there and sometimes it is a little bit easier or more engaging to hear me explain what I wrote about as opposed to just reading it. So I'm going to keep trying to do these videos each week along with the topic that I write about. So I'm going to give a minute to let some people join, and tonight I'm going to be talking about forgiveness, the power of forgiveness, and the challenge of forgiveness. Why is it so hard to forgive? And what can we do about it? Forgiveness is as old as time. It's all over the Bible. Every spiritual tradition talks about forgiveness and the power of forgiveness. And so I think it's pretty widely accepted that forgiveness is a really important thing to practice. And it remains to be one of the hardest things to practice. And none of us ever go through life unscathed, right? None of us escape being hurt by people. And the closer that someone is to us, the more painful it is when they hurt us, when they let us down. And then, of course, there's self-forgiveness. I found in my own practice that there were more things that I needed to forgive myself for, actually, that were kind of holding me down in shame and guilt, than some of the things that I needed to forgive people for in my past that have hurt me. So forgiveness is probably one of the most important spiritual practices that we have, and it's something that we need to understand and practice to kind of continually rise up and be stronger and be happier and reclaim our power. So let's talk about forgiveness and why it's so powerful. So when we get hurt by someone or by ourselves and we feel that pain, it weighs us down. And we get stuck in that pain. We get wounded by the pain. And we always have the choice to heal or stay wounded. But for most of us, that's not a conscious choice that we have. Most of us are kind of stuck in this subconscious response that we respond or react to the pain and we get wounded. And then it's really, really hard to forgive the person that hurt us. And why is it so hard? Well, first of all, our brain can't make sense of forgiveness. Our brain mistakenly thinks that when we're wounded, when someone hurts us, that we actually have power over them, that being wounded actually gives us this power because it feels like we're due something back from the person that hurt us. So our brain has this mistaken illusion going on that we are more powerful. We are in this position of power over the person or the situation that hurt us. And so our brain gets stuck. Our brain doesn't want to forgive. It doesn't want to let go of the wound because it feels like by letting go of the wound, it would be letting go of the power that the wound kind of gives us, that we have over the person, that we're due an apology or we're due revenge or we're due something, like someone, oh, that person, they owe me because they screwed me on this thing or whatever. And so our brain kind of gets stuck in this position of thinking that there's power in the wound itself, which is ridiculous because whenever we're wounded, we're weakened. It drops us down. We're not happy. We're actually giving our power away to the person or the situation that has hurt us. So while our brain thinks that it's powerful to be wounded, it's actually the farthest thing from the truth. The other thing that happens in our brain, we get stuck in the wound because our brain wants to understand why and how this could have happened. So if someone hurts us, our brain has this kind of evolutionary instinct to understand and make sense of the pain so it can avoid it in the future. And it makes perfect sense that our brain is naturally wired whenever there's pain to be able to figure out, well, why did this happen? How did this happen? And how can I make sure it doesn't ever happen again? But so often when someone hurts us or we get hurt, there's not a clear why or how that we can make sense of. So we have to be able to surrender that need to understand the why and the how that we got hurt. It's really, really hard to do that. It's hard to get out of our brain and let go of that need to understand why and how. And so both of those things that happen where we get stuck in our brain, one, because we feel like there's a power that we have over the situation, which is completely wrong, and two, because we want to understand the why and the how, we have to be able to get out of our brain into our heart in order to start to forgive, because our brain cannot make sense of forgiveness. The brain has this illusion that forgiving actually is going to make us weak, and it's completely untrue. What happens when we actually forgive someone is that we're taking back our power from the person or the situation, and we're rising above. And what that literally feels like is that we're releasing and letting go of the attachment to that pain and to that kind of heavy situation. And we're letting light and love kind of in and let it kind of like lift us up out of it. And that person or that situation no longer has the power to make us upset, no longer has the power to make us feel bad, no longer has the power to make us feel anything. Once we forgive, we're kind of unfuckwithable when it comes to that stuff. And sometimes forgiveness is a process. We may have to keep working at it, right? Like sometimes you kind of start to forgive, and so it has less power over you. But whenever you find yourself thinking about something that happened in the past, and you find that it makes you feel low in some way, that means that there's forgiveness to be done. And like I said earlier, sometimes it's self-forgiveness. So if I ever feel shame, if I ever feel guilt, I know that that's a clue that I need to forgive myself for something. And I need to do this work, getting out of my brain into my heart and forgiving myself for whatever dumb thing that I've done. Because if you've known me a while, you know I've made lots of mistakes as I've leaned into living this life. So this practice of forgiveness is really, really integral to taking back our power and finding higher and higher kind of levels of happiness that we are unfuckwithable around, right? That we aren't giving our power away to anything outside of ourself, to like allow that to make us feel unhappy in any way or to take us out of our center of peace and power. So that's the story with forgiveness. And I love talking about this stuff. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask anytime. Hi, Anna. Hi, David. Thank you guys so much for joining. If you aren't aware, I have a book coming out. My first book is launching April 7th. It's called Find More Strength, 5 Pillars to Unlock Unlimited Power and Happiness. You can find out more about it on my website, goldevolution.com. And if you sign up on my website, you'll also kind of get kept apprised of the latest information about the book launch. And yeah, that's about it. So thank you guys so much for listening. If you have any questions, as I said, feel free to reach out. And anything you'd like to have me talk about in the future, I'm always happy to take questions and suggestions. So thank you so much for listening and have a great night. Bye.